A civil authority has issued a national broadcast for all states of the United States. All stations and media outlets have shut down in order for this broadcast to be played through. At 9:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 6, 2025. Effective until 10 p.m. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States federal government and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. This is not a test. All 20 nuclear missiles launched from the nations of China, Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America have failed to destroy Comet Minsk completely. Humanity's final attempt to deflect Comet Minsk has failed. The comet is still somewhat intact. However, there is now a separate piece of the comet that is currently 6 miles across. It will make impact with Earth 2 hours before the main piece hits. The exact location of the first impact is currently unknown. However, based on the time that the main piece of Comet Minsk will hit, it's likely that the second piece will strike somewhere east of the Caspian Sea. As a result of this new information, construction of national shelters have begun to increase. It is now confirmed that there will be a shelter built for each and every U.S. state. Every shelter will now have a capacity of 50,000. However, the capacity may vary based on the population of the state that the shelter is built in. As mentioned before in previous announcements, each ticket will cost at least $1,000 per person. There is enough food and water to feed people for more than a decade. There are still tickets that you can purchase online in order to protect yourself and your family. Even though the main piece of Comet Minsk has been reduced of its size thanks to the missiles, it is still as big of a threat as it was previously. During the second impact, a large tsunami will be spawned. It will be greater than 100 feet tall as it approaches the eastern coastline of the United States. The following cities which will be at great risk of the tsunami involve: New York, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, Providence, Richmond, Norfolk, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and Hartford. If you live within any of the cities mentioned above, it is urgent that you must evacuate inland at least a week before the comet makes impact. Once both pieces have landed, the air will be covered with dust and ash from the impact. The air will not be breathable for the next 5 to 10 years after impact unless you have a gas mask equipped. 90% of all plant and animal life will perish after impact. In 5 hours after the impact, all of the continents will have been consumed by the firestorm produced by both impacts. Most people on the surface will be dead. Spend these last couple of weeks left with your family or friends. If you do have a ticket to access the shelters, do so as soon as possible as the shelters will close within a week before impact. All commercial flights heading to or from the United States will still be available until the 4th of March. Also, a week before impact. This has been a national broadcast from the United States government. Take care, good luck, and God bless America.
We apologize for interrupting your current programming. This is a nationwide announcement that has been authorized at the request of the British government. Just recently, we have got word that the nuclear missiles launched have failed to completely destroy Comet Minsk. Instead, the comet is now in 2 pieces thanks to the missiles. One piece being approximately 10 kilometers long and the other main piece being 40 kilometers long. Both pieces are still large enough to wipe out all life on Earth and are still as big of a threat if not worse. The approximate location of the smaller piece will be somewhere within Central Asia 2 hours before the main impact of the bigger piece. It will strike East Kazakhstan at 4 p.m. Western Europe time, traveling faster than the speed of sound. The bigger piece will strike off the west coast of Portugal at 6 p.m. Western Europe time. Both impacts will happen on the 16th of March. That leaves only a month and 10 days left. In approximately a week's time, an evacuation program will be set up in which citizens of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland will be evacuated to local bunkers and shelters. Most of these shelters have already been constructed from old nuclear shelters. Some will be kilometers deep underground. It is at the British government's interest that every resident above the age of 5 will be provided with a gas mask in order to protect themselves against the harmful effects of the nuclear winter. Produced from both impacts. Once again, we do remind you that rioting and putting other people's lives in danger is still strictly against the law and you will be arrested. Large urban areas such as London, Birmingham, and Manchester are already in a civil emergency and are under martial law. If you reside within any of the cities mentioned, do not go outside as local metropolitan police will help evacuate you. This may be the final official nationwide broadcast from the BBC. All other broadcasts will most likely be news reports or isolated broadcasts. Spend time with your family and friends and be sure not to cause people any more distress than they are currently experiencing, as our country is going through a very difficult time. Thank you for listening to this broadcast.
All major news networks have been shut down until further notice. Please remain calm and stay tuned to the following broadcast. Alert issued at 6:23 p.m. on the 8th of March 2025. Alert effective until the 16th of March 2025. The following broadcast has been authorized at the request of the Australian Government and the Australian Department of Defence. This is not a test. We regret to inform the citizens of Australia that the nuclear missiles launched yesterday have failed to completely destroy the 60-kilometre-long comet that is heading towards Earth. While all the rockets launched from China, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia did hit the comet, they have failed to completely destroy Comet Minsk. There is now a large chunk of space rock that has been blown off the comet, which has been measured by scientists as being no greater than 10 kilometers long. This smaller piece will also hit Earth somewhere east of Kazakhstan and southeast of Russia 2 hours before the main comet hits. As a result of this information, it is clear to the Australian people that there is no feasible way left to save humanity from inevitable extinction. That is why a state of emergency will be placed for the following areas: Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania, and Western Australia. Since there is a risk of a tsunami and a global firestorm being produced from both impacts. That is why the Australian government have placed nationwide shelters within the Northern Territory and within South Australia. Starting in a week from now, all residents and their families from major urban areas with a population greater of 1 million will be selected to live in the shelters based on their expertise. There will be no national lottery, nor will you be able to purchase tickets unlike what other nations have done. People will only be selected based on their background and their willingness to contribute to the survival of humanity. No resident above the age of 65 will be selected. No resident who suffers from a terminal illness or a disease that can be contracted genetically will also be selected. While there is a little more than a month left until the 2 fragments of Comet Minsk hits, there will still be laws put in place. Murder is still illegal. Robberies, assault, burglaries, and other such crimes are also still illegal. Urban areas that have too much crime will be placed into a state of martial law. We will keep you updated on this current situation. Tune in to local stations and networks in order to know if you have been selected or not.
This is not a test. May we have your full attention, please?
Семей, Атау, Скемин, Жазин, Таларжне, Ридер, Алаларенда Тратен, Барлы, Трендар, ММКиндин, Шабатысак, Шуи, Керик. Азастаны Шии Сауданында Республикалы Тен Шижадай, Жария Ланады. Азастан Республикасыны Аролы Каштери Трендарды Батыстая Айматан Эвакуация Лоак Миктиседы.
All residents who currently reside within the following cities, Semi, Aktau, Ust, Kamenogorsk, Zhanarazan, Talgar, and Rida must evacuate as far west as possible. A national state of emergency is to be placed on the eastern district of Kazakhstan. The armed forces of the Republic of Kazakhstan will help residents evacuate from the area out west.
Шиистан эвакуация Ланатен Басендарды, Ауипсис Баспанамин Амтамасис Ету Масатында Азастан Республикасы Тарапынан Берилейн Ресми Баспаналар Салынады. Трендарды Ашын Люрине Айты Паралатыны Туралы Натыкан Жобол Сада. Азастанда и Барлы Азаматтара 16 Наурызда Баспана Издивги Киюс Бериледы, Сибиби Азастан Халы Шин Жоин Ая Балуй ММКН. Ояны Андай Балатыны Пия Баланымен, 16 Наурызды Аядан Кейн Барлы Азаматтарды Противогаз Киюй Республика МДСНСАЙ.
Official shelters provided by the Republic of Kazakhstan will be built in order to provide a safe home for refugees who are evacuating from the east. While there is no confirmed date for when residents can return back to their homes, it is highly advised for all citizens within Kazakhstan to seek shelter on the 16th of March, as there may be a devastating event that will befall the nation of Kazakhstan. While it is classified what event will take place, it is at the Republic's interest that all citizens are to wear gas masks after the events of the 16th of March.
Тыданыис Шин Рахмет.
Thank you for listening.
「これは暴動警報です。激しい戦闘と市民の不安に注意してください。港区、中央区、千代田区、渋谷区、文京区、江東区、江戸川区、墨田区にお住まいの方は外出を控えてください。あなたの地域で暴動が発生しました。あなたはこれらの暴動に参加してはなりません。もしそうなら、あなたの人生は深刻な危険にさらされます。あなたの安全のために、家の中にとどまり、すべてのドアと窓に鍵をかけ、誰かがあなたの現在の居住エリアに侵入しようとした場合にあなた自身とあなたの家族を守ります。日本の警察庁は、間もなく被災地に入り、制御を維持します。行政当局に関与しないでください。怪我をすることになります。あなたも治安妨害で逮捕されます。この現在の状況に関する最新情報が提供されるまで、屋内にとどまってください。
To seasoned Renault enthusiasts and creatives.
Al fresco dining.
Al fresco, yeah.
Lock.
Our hand-picked competitors were eager to kick things off.
Interesting.
Interesting.
But straight away,
All networks and stations within the Wellington region have been shut down in order for this announcement to be played through. Do not panic and please stay tuned to the following broadcast. This is not a test. A state of emergency has been declared for Lower Hutt, Central Wellington, Porirua, Upper Hutt, and South Wairarapa as there are reports of mass rioting within the areas. Numbers are unclear, but it is estimated that at least 32,000 people alone in the central Wellington district are rioting. The New Zealand Police as well as the New Zealand Defence Force will be arriving within the areas very shortly, and it is highly advised not to fight them. The riots have started out at 8:20 a.m. this morning after the Prime Minister and other top officials have stated that they will be resigning and seeking shelter within the bunkers. For your safety and own well-being, please do not participate within these riots. It is confirmed that there are people who currently possess very dangerous weapons within these riots and that the New Zealand Defence Force will use force if they are threatened. Once again, we do remind you that if you have been selected to live in the national shelters, please make your way to the locations immediately, as they will all close within a week from now. In order to protect yourself and your family from the first impact of Comet Minsk, you will need to prepare a sufficient amount of food and water that will last for a recommended time period of more than 6 months. You will also need a battery-powered radio, a flashlight, a gas mask, a first aid kit, and your evacuation kit. After both impacts, New Zealand Civil Defence personnel and the New Zealand Defence Force will help rescue any survivors at least 3 months after both impacts. While the chances of surviving the impacts on ground are very low, you will have a better chance of surviving the impact in a bunker at least a kilometre deep underground, or if you are selected to live in the national bunkers. The New Zealand government will also be airlifting selected people to the national shelters if they are unable to travel there alone. This has been an announcement from New Zealand Civil Defence. Do not panic, stay calm, and spend time with your family. Thank you for listening.
The following message has been authorized at the request of the United States government. Issued at 3:27 p.m. on the 15th of February, 2025. Effective until further notice. This is not a test. All networks and stations within the state of West Virginia have been shut down until further notice in order to play this broadcast. A state of martial law has been declared for the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area after reports of mass rioting have taken place. However, there are areas that are currently experiencing intense rioting in which the National Guard have warned the public not to go near the areas. These places include Foggy Bottom, the Mall, Capitol Hill, Southwest, West Potomac Park, Downtown, Penn Quarter, and Judiciary Square. If you are currently within any of those areas, please remain indoors or move out of the areas quickly, as federal troops and the National Guard will move into those areas shortly. There are reports that at least 948,000 people are currently rioting within the areas. If you are one of those people, it is strongly encouraged to stop rioting and to go home, or else you may be met with deadly force. As for the rest of the state of West Virginia, a curfew will be put in place in which citizens cannot go outside between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. People who work at night, however, will be exempt from this rule. The national bunkers will close in approximately 72 hours from now. If you have bought a ticket but haven't sought shelter yet, do so immediately, as it may be too late. All residents who have been selected to live in the shelters will receive a notification alert on their cellular devices informing them of where the location of the shelters will be. This has been an emergency broadcast from the United States government. Thank you for your attention.
More than 1 million people have gathered within Washington, D.C. today demanding answers to the information blackout about the national shelters. While over 30 million people around the nation have purchased tickets to get into the shelters, more than half of them report that they never received information as to where the shelters will be. With time running out, people have become desperate for answers, with no other choice but to go to the very front lines of the U.S. Capitol. Following a recent announcement that was given to the state of West Virginia, the entire city of Washington, D.C. has been placed into a state of martial law. Even now as we still speak, there are still well over 100,000 people who are still protesting and even rioting within the mall. In other news, all flights heading to or from the United States will be shut down within 2 weeks' time. This has theoretically been put in place to avoid panic and private flights to national bunkers. The U.S. military has warned that if they spot any plane, regardless of if it's a passenger plane or not flying after the no-fly zone has been put in place, they will be shot down. We will come back to this later.
All around the world today, Comet Minsk has now become visible to the naked eye. Spotted around 6 p.m. New Zealand time, it truly is an extraordinary sight to see such a thing in the night sky. All across New Zealand as well as the world, countless pictures are being sent in showing the comet and its trail behind it. Experts are now warning that this means that both fragments Comet Minsk is now less than a month away from impacting Earth. The first fragment, the 10 kilometers large fragment of Comet Minsk, will strike Kazakhstan first, just 26 kilometers east of the city of Semey. From there, it would only take less than 10 seconds for the shockwave to completely decimate the city. Not only that, but in under 2 minutes, most of eastern Kazakhstan and western China would be obliterated. This will result in a mass extinction level event. Anyone who isn't in a bunker at the time of impact would most likely be killed instantly by the first impact. About half an hour after the first impact, most of the continents would be affected. Cities will be reduced to rubble, homes collapsed, and massive wildfires would start. However, the 40 kilometers large fragment of the comet upon impact would most likely vaporize all of Portugal within the first 3 minutes after impact and completely destroy Western Europe 10 minutes after impact. In roughly 3 or 4 hours after both impacts, the skies would be dark with ash and we'd be seeing a decade or more of nuclear winter. A large crater almost 100 kilometers in diameter would be formed where Spain would be, while the remaining survivors of humanity, if there is any, would be forced to survive either in very deep bunkers or escape to another habitable planet. While there is no word on if any world leaders have ever considered such a thing, there are rumors of another rocket, twice the size of the International Space Station, being constructed in the United States. However, there is currently no word of it yet.
We have just got word that the President of the United States has announced an official resignation today from his position. This has come in light of the recent news that all deflection missions launched by the United States of America have failed and that the comet is still on a collision course with Earth. While it is unclear what will happen now or if another political figure will come into position, what is known right now is that many cities under martial law have become too unstable to live in. Cities such as New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco have all become declared as too dangerous to live in. There are reports that the former president as well as other high-ranking officials of the United States government have a plan to survive the impact. However, information is very limited. With only 20 days left until both fragments make impact, it is truly a moment to be living in right now. We will continue to report on this current situation until the fragments make impact with Earth.
Check of the SRBs, firing chain is armed. Sound suppression water system armed. T-minus 10.
Only 4 days left. 4 days until the first piece of the comet that I found hits. I've seen the news, heard the reports. It's gonna hit near Kazakhstan. And yeah, I guess it's not long until we all die. I mean, I guess that if they did listen to me earlier, then, you know, maybe we would have had another chance, but we tried everything and now it's only just 4 days until we're all bloody dead, burned alive. Everything we know will be gone, and hell, we won't even be left. We won't even be alive to see the aftermath. The only people that'll probably be left are just people who've been lucky enough to pay for the bunkers or have been selected. I mean, I know that I wasn't selected. They never select people like me. They just credit me, use me, and that's it. But I guess it doesn't matter now because most of us are going to be dead anyways. So yeah, that's about it.
The city of Auckland as well as Wellington have been placed into a state of emergency after multiple riots and protests have took place today. The riots have become too great for the New Zealand police to control. Buildings are on fire, skyscrapers are burning, many cities not only in New Zealand, but Australia, as well have been plunged into a state of emergency and widespread civil unrest. People don't care about anything anymore, as both fragments are certain to hit Earth. We will keep a live update as the first fragment hits Earth. From there, it's hard to know if any of us will still be alive to report on the second fragment. There are only 24 hours left until the first fragment of the comet hits Earth. Many cities around the world are now war zones. Crime is practically legal, and the best thing you should do in order to keep yourself and your family safe is to remain indoors and away from popular urban areas. We have also got word that the former Prime Minister has resided within a bunker, as well as all high-ranking members of Parliament. The New Zealand police have also announced that many officers will be stepping down in order to spend time with their families before the main fragment hits. We the team here at TVNZ will broadcast shows and compilations, reflecting on our nation's history, and how we have managed to overcome so many of our struggles and issues over the decades. We thank you for tuning into our network and stations over these past decades. Hera.
The following message has been issued at the authorization of the United States government. The first fragment of the comet has struck. As of right now, all of Kazakhstan has been wiped off the map. Most of Russia, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and China are also being affected by the shockwave and firestorm. In approximately 4 hours, the firestorm will reach the east coast of the United States of America. In order to protect yourself and your family, it is advised to seek shelter in either a very low point or by sheltering underground. Areas that may be safe from the firestorm may include subway tunnels, basements lower than a minimum depth of 30 meters below ground, a nationwide shelter from the United States government, a cellar, or any other underground structure that is lower than a depth of 30 to 50 meters below sea level. If you are on the surface during the time of impact, you face certain and imminent death. All shelters have closed from the general public as well as all flights being shut down. All skies will shortly be covered with ash from the debris from ash and will damage any currently flying aircraft. Once you have survived the shockwave and the firestorm, make sure you have enough food to last for more than a week. Once the air outside is stable enough for you to walk in, you must wear a gas mask or a mask of sorts or else you will suffocate from the toxic particles in the air. You don't have much time. If you wish to spend time with your family and friends, please do so. This has been the final broadcast from the United States government. Take care, and good luck. Message has been issued at the authorization of the New Zealand government at 7:04 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time on the 16th of March 2025. All national networks and news stations are to be shut down in order for this announcement to play through. This is not a test. At approximately 4:56 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time, the first fragment of Comet Minsk has struck East Kazakhstan, resulting in a catastrophic firestorm that is currently heading towards New Zealand at speeds of more than 1,000 km per hour. By 8:21 a.m., it will engulf most of the North Island and by 8:27 a.m., all of the South Island. There is currently no way to survive this firestorm if you are on the surface. You will be burned alive at temperatures of more than 3,000 degrees Celsius and death will come shortly. The only way to survive if you wish is to reside within a bunker or at a minimum depth of 1 kilometer underground. However, all national shelters at this time have been closed, which only leaves basements, cellars, and underground tunnels as your last option of surviving. However, it is strongly recommended to spend time with your family and loved ones as you do not wish to leave them in their final moments. Take time to do what you like. There have been shelters set up around multiple urban areas in order for those to find their loved ones. This has been the final broadcast from the New Zealand government. Heria Ra Aotearoa.